Hey man, I'm Jusko from Proud Money. We haven't talked credit scores in quite a while on this channel, but FICO out with an announcement this week that they are going to start incorporating buy now, pay later loans into some of their credit scoring models. FICO announced the launch of two new credit scoring models, FICO Score 10 BNPL and FICO Score 10T BNPL, with the BNPL meaning buy now, pay later, if you didn't already know, and the difference between FICO Score 10 and FICO Score 10T. That T is for trending, so FICO uses a little bit of a different model where they take into account sort of your trending information instead of just information at a single point in time, and so lenders can choose to use that trending if they want to over that sort of single point in time. But anyway, we've got the 10 and the 10T BNPL models now. Now, whether this has any impact on you is going to depend on a number of factors. Obviously, the first factor is going to be if you use buy now, pay later loans or not. The second factor will be if you do, which ones do you use and do they report to the credit bureaus currently? So Affirm recently has started to report most of its loans to both TransUnion and Experian. Klarna, for the most part, does not report most of its loans. If you use PayPal Pay in 4, those ones have not been getting reported to the credit bureaus. Sezzle does not report unless you want them to report through their Sezzle Up program, and obviously there are other buy now, pay later companies as well. So each of them has a little bit of a different way that they have gone about this, and part of it has been that they haven't necessarily wanted to report when it's been unclear how the credit scoring models would take those loans into account. And then the third factor will be whether lenders actually use these new models. So you might have the idea that when FICO creates a new credit scoring model, it just supersedes all the old ones and that lenders start to use the new one because it is, probably an improvement over what has come before. But that is definitely not how it works. Lenders have the choice to use whatever model they want to in, approving or declining your credit card or your installment loan or whatever it is. And oftentimes, if a lender is happy enough with whatever model they were using to begin with, they aren't necessarily interested in FICO coming out with new models, even if FICO says they're better than the old models. As long as they're happy with the results they're getting from before, they might choose to stick with an older model, and FICO doesn't really care. They just want to make the sales of the credit scores to whoever wants them. So they want to make it look like they are continuing to improve and doing what lenders want from them, but they are more than happy to sell the old credit scores if a lender doesn't want to use the new ones. That said, it's not 100% clear how FICO is going to use buy now, pay later information in its new credit scores, although one thing that it does say that it is going to do is try to aggregate or combine essentially multiple loans if you have them into sort of a single entity in your credit score. Now, they didn't say exactly that because FICO likes to keep it close to the vest in terms of exactly how they calculate these credit scores, because they don't necessarily want you to game the credit scoring system, and they don't necessarily want their competitor Vantage score to just copy whatever they do. But it looks like they are trying to sort of account for the fact that for many people, if you use buy now, pay later, it is not the same as sort of a traditional installment loan, because it's usually going to be for a lot less money. You might be paying something over 4 installments that's only, $500 or even less than that. So it's not the same as buying a car or getting a mortgage. And oftentimes people will use multiple buy now, pay later loans, so these smaller amounts and many of them. So if you tend to do that, then it could look like this person is getting all kinds of installment loans all the time, and that could hurt your credit score. And so that has been part of the reason that a lot of these buy now, pay later companies have not wanted to report to the credit bureaus, because they didn't want it to hurt the people that were actually using their product. And it also has been something where FICO has not necessarily been clear on how they want to incorporate that information into their scores to make it actually useful for lenders. Well, FICO has announced the launch of these new BNPL credit scores. They're technically not available yet. They say they're going to be available in the fall here of 2025, so fairly soon. And they also say that when they are initially rolled out, the lenders that would be buying one of their scores that already exists would get the 10 and 10T BNPL scores for free, along with whatever credit score they're buying, so that they can look at the differences and similarities between those scores and decide if the newer score is something that is actually more impactful and, you know, more correct, I guess you could say, than the older scores that don't include the buy now, pay later data. So really, for most people, if you are a user of buy now, pay later in any capacity, this is probably good news for you, because the way it stands now, most of the companies that are in the buy now, pay later game have not been reporting to the credit bureaus unless you fail to pay. So the negative information oftentimes is getting through if you haven't paid, but the positive information is not necessarily getting onto your credit report and being incorporated into your credit score. So if you're someone that uses these loans often and you pay them off the way that you are supposed to, well, then obviously having those incorporated into your credit score in a positive way is going to make this a positive development for you over what has been happening thus far. So that is what is happening. Always fun to talk about those credit scores. Again, if you have any questions or comments, put those down below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching.